Lord of mercy, do I have a ton of things to talk about. Here I was thinking I had nothing to say anymore about anything much after I said what I had to say about Veda Jade. Well, life, as usual, is throwing lemons and turnips and God knows what all else at me. So I'm going to have to talk about it. And I'm a greasy hot mess this morning because I don't have water. Apparently, they're working on the pipes again here. So we are stuck here in Costa Rica with no water during the day. Hey, Java man, you're tardy to the party. Hey, number one fan. So it has been one hell of a crazy last couple of days. What's the deal? I just flew back from the States where it was ice cold, where I had some issues with that. I'm glad to be back where it's warm again. I want to talk about a pile of stuff, including, and I forgot to put this in my description, I want to talk about the Gypsy Rose Blanchard thing for a couple of reasons. Because number one, we're seeing without a box of Kleenex glomming on to this story like she does so many others that involve SA and various things. Just flew back. My arms are tired. I'm Suzanne Ticklemeyer. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering. Now I just kind of ramble around doing all kinds of crazy stuff while I'm working on my book. And thankfully, my kids reminded me of some very vampire squid of trauma. My kids reminded me of some really funny stuff that happened in my old church that I'd forgotten about, including Fisher Price's my very first little drag queen. We had a guy at our church that we used to dress in drag and just talk mad S on everybody up at church under the name Mrs. BZ Body. My daughter was pointing out that for all the crap that the church and these people have thrown at drag queens, first drag queen experience was at that particular church. So here we go. The main thing I wanted to talk about this morning was what the heck, guys? What happened to healthcare in America? What happened? Was your flight better this time than oh yeah, so much better. So much better. And I didn't fall down off of the stairs coming off. Not at all. I only had one issue the entire flight there and back. One issue. When I got to Miami to change planes on my way back here, I come up to the gate, I come out of the plane, and there's my walker, my rolling walker. And I go to grab it, and there's a lady with a wheelchair holding an iPad with my name on it. And I said, yeah, that's me, but I have my rolling walker. I'm going to walk. I'd rather walk than have you push me. Um, we call that pulling a Gerald Ford. Ah, well, I must be related to Gerald Ford and Joe Biden because I routinely fall. So I wasn't falling that time. I'm rolling it on my rollator, go to the bathroom, come out, and I see the same lady who had the wheelchair and the iPad has the iPad again. And she stops this lady right in front of me and says, are you Suzanne Titkemeyer? Because if you are, I have a space for you on that accessibility mover thingy. You know, the golf cart things that hold like 8 people that you routinely see people who can't walk sitting in, they bring you from gate to gate. So this is happening within 2 feet in front of me, and the woman, she asked if she was me. She said, "Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm Suzanne Titcomar. Here's my husband. Let's ride in this. We're disabled." Well, first of all, that woman came off my flight, and I saw her at the first gate. She was not disabled in any way, shape, or form that I could tell. And she got on the plane with the last group, so she didn't qualify for any reason to get on the plane with the rest of us Crips, so she didn't. But she jacked my seat on the thing I wasn't even going to use. Well, the woman said, okay, good, get on here, blah, blah, blah. And I told the woman who was helping her, I said, wait a minute. I am Suzanne, not this woman. This woman is a liar. I turned to the woman and said, you know, you're not me. I told the lady working for the airline with the sign, I said, I have a boarding pass in that name. I have ID. I have my passport in that name. So please do not accept that this person is me. And they rolled off. I was gonna talk about this eventually, but, and my house was fine. It was exactly how I left it. I mean, exactly. So my house sitter did a wonderful job. I'm super grateful to her, and that was the best thing. So the trip went well. It went well there in Maryland. It went well, except for one thing that I'm gonna talk about. What the holy hell has happened in America with the American healthcare system? Guess someone else just stole your art as well, wasn't no, it wasn't KJ and it wasn't Vada Jade. Veda Jade. Veda. In the Veda. I don't know who this woman was. She was in my age group. And I guess the woman who had been waiting for me with the wheelchair forgot what it was I looked like and forgot that I'm walking with a turquoise rollator. Guess. I don't know, but it got really strange. But the weirdest thing was 2 days before, the day before we left, my husband picked up and was scratched by a stray cat. Okay. Now, we feed a feral colony here. This was a cat neither of us had seen. It was quite ill. You could tell it was ill. And earlier that day, I had been out there with it, not trying to pet it, but just trying to get it to sniff my hand so that maybe I could examine it with possibility of bringing it to Dr. Cavallini, who is a good vet here, who works with people who are doing feeding colonies and stray colonies and helped them get spayed and all that. So that was my goal. But my husband didn't do that. He just grabbed it by the scruff, pulled it up, and started petting it. And of course, it turned into a ball of claws and nails and everything else. And he got nailed pretty hard. He was at the doctor's office the day before he left. Our doctor looked at it and said, "Yeah, you probably have MRSA still." They put him on a broad spectrum antibiotic and said, if you go in the States, this gets worse, and you go to the ER in the States, they're going to insist that you get the rabies vaccinations. Said, we don't insist you get it because rabies in cats and dogs here is non-existent. Listing on the treadmill, I'm going to have to do the same. I got to get on the elliptical, which is why I'm dressed so casually today. I'm about to restart the exercise again. I am not thrilled about it. So we flew, everything went fine. We got there and his hand was just much worse. It looked really swollen. We took him to the doc in the box the very next morning because here we are, almost up on Christmas. Okay, the 21st. So we sat for 3 hours before they finally took us back. The doctor took one look at my husband's hand, said, ER now, rabies shots. And I told him what my Costa Rican doctor said. And my Costa Rican doctor, I'm going to tell you, she is trained and certified in the US and Costa Rica. She's married to an American. She goes back and forth herself. She gets how different these things are. And I got a nice, shiny new cup to drink my Diet Coke out of while I was out of town as a present. So I'm very grateful. Um, so we went to the ER. We went to the one recommended by the doctor, which was a newer ER, a newer hospital connected to the University of Maryland. Okay. New ER. So we get there around noon and we've been 9 to noon at the urgent care. Urgent care sent us 5 minutes away to the ER. We get to the ER at noon. They don't take us back until like 6:30 p.m. Okay, my husband has a high fever. He's got all his hand looks like a Mickey Mouse glove. Really, really just horribly sick. And we go back there and there are no doctors. It's all physician's assistants. Well, I don't have a problem with that because I have had just as good of outcomes with physician's assistants. I love this stuff. Than I've ever had with doctors, just as well. Whatever. So we go in there and they took a look at the hand and they say, rabies shot now, and run all these tests and do these different things. And I did what my doctor suggested. I whipped out my paperwork with a copy of all the MRSA tests, with a copy of the the pus they had done a culture on all of that. I had all the records and said, "Hey, look, he was seen for this, blah blah blah." They say, "Stop right there. This is not MRSA. This is not MRSA. This is not MRSA at all. He needs a rabies injection of antibiotics." And said, "Well, he's already on antibiotics. Here you go, clindamycin." So so finally they call a hand surgeon to look at this thing. And this is after they'd given him the first painful rabies shot. Okay. And the hand surgeon says, number one, they gave him the rabies injection in the wrong spot. So they had to repeat the rabies injections, number one. Number two, by this time it's about 11 p.m. They don't make the decision to keep him in the hospital until 4 a.m. So this means my daughter, who has driven me, and myself, we're waiting at some form of health thing from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. No food, very little water, just sitting there. And they finally admitted him, and we ran away to the only place we could find to open wall to McDonald's before going home. So we left him in the ER. We left him in the ER. We were told, "Oh, he'll have a bed, blah, blah, blah. We just don't know." Next morning, we go back. He's still in the ER. They are still no beds available in the actual hospital. And they have him in the ER, and people are still piled up in the waiting room outside the ER, which you could some people are still piled up in the waiting room outside the ER, which you could so many people were so sick, and there was just no room, no nothing. Thank you, Jackie. He's better. He's so much better. So we waited 24 hours to have a bed. So they got him in there, and they finally got him a bed, and they gave him IV antibiotics and more rabies shots. And we actually finished up with the rabies injections yesterday at our doctor here in Costa Rica, where it became a problem in the States even getting the rabies injection. We ordered it at the doctor we were seeing, and they gave it away. And then said, "Well, we can't get another one for 3 or 4 days." So they have to be given day one, day three, day seven, day 14. There's a strict schedule. And to get the fourth one here, all I had to do was, "Hey, Dr. Andrea," email her and say, "We need a rabies. What you said happened. We need the fourth rabies injection. If you can order it for us, we'll be back on this date. Go get the injection on that date." And that was the only part of the whole experience that went smoothly was our Costa Rican experience. You'll watch a replay. Well, there's not a whole lot of the replay, just me bitching about somebody taking my space on one of the mobility things at the airport because they pretended to be me. Um, so there's that. That happened. I got to see American healthcare at work. It was not good. I haven't been in the States in, a long time. So this was not a good thing. And I was not impressed. Now, there were a lot of really dedicated people in the hospital who were doing the best they could. But the problem is they had 2 nurses for the entire floor at ER. The ER was huge. They were just so understaffed, it was ridiculous. They were extremely understaffed. There was no beds, and everybody in the waiting room seemed like they're about on the verge of death. So many people uninsured that were waiting till the last second to come in. So the system is extremely broken. I don't know what the answer is. It's done very well here. So when I moved to Costa Rica, everybody was saying, "But you're not going to be able to get health care." Well, guess what? The health care here is worlds better and worlds cheaper. Worlds cheaper. You know how much we paid out of pocket for the rabies injection yesterday? $60. $60, and then we're submit to the insurance company, and they're going to reimburse us. I don't know what on the final billing of the hospital those rabies injections ran, but I have a feeling it's a lot more than $60. I've never had to wait for care here. I've always been seen. I've been seen quickly, usually within an hour, tops. An hour is if they're busy. Only one other time that I had an experience even remotely like that, I was in there. Yeah. Jackie, we don't even use the centralized healthcare here because it's kind of pokey and not the best. But on the private healthcare spectrum here, we use it and it's affordable. It's affordable. You could pay out of pocket and not pinch your budget. Like I said, $60 for a rabies injection is way less than I ever thought. Congress would have to stop taking money from the health insurance lobbyists. Well, they really do need to. I had my rabies vaccination at Walgreens. Way to go, Java man. I may do that the next time I come. I had to do, I only got the COVID one because they would not give me the COVID and the RSV, and there wasn't enough time for me to have them. So I'll get the RSV one here. The COVID one, they don't get near enough COVID vaccinations for here. They're constantly reordering them and they're run through the health department. And I'm not a legal resident yet, and I'm not a citizen, so I don't qualify to get one here. So I go back to the States and get those. But I may get a rabies vaccination one when I go back because of the fact that I have bats on the property. And I go out and watch the bats, and I understand that's foreboding. I'd love to go to CR, but we both lose jobs. Oh, yeah. Working class in CR is not the best. Jackie, you're right about that. Working class here is always undercut by the Nicaraguans who are here. He'll take $2 to $4 an hour for a job. A lot better than that because I'll pay US wages because I found that's a better way to get better workers here is to go ahead and pay a living wage. So there you go. That was my experience with healthcare here and there. And I'm not going back until things are fixed there with as far as healthcare, or at least improve some, because it wasn't like this years ago. It's just something that seems to be getting worse all the time. You guys will laugh over this. I forgot to put this in the description too. Guess what I had happen to me in Delaware at a Walmart pharmacy? I ran into without the box Kleenex stand for the first time. I ran into one of them in real life. It was the funniest thing. I'm sitting there, Walmart, sitting at the pharmacy, waiting to pick up one of my husband's many prescriptions for this whole confloption, which, by the way, after a day, they said, "You're right. He has MRSA." And I'm like, ding. So we were dealing with multiple prescriptions for a variety of things. And I sitting there minding my own business, waiting for the prescriptions, waiting to get my COVID injection. And I'm in Delaware, by the way. I'm in rural Delaware. I want to say Seaford was the name of the town. We had booked an Airbnb for a week. The family, we used to always go away to places we've never been for Christmas week. And we did that again. We went to Seaford, Delaware, and we had a blast. The Airbnb was really nice. It was on a river. But I'm sitting there in the Walmart waiting area, the pharmacy, and I look up and I see a lady with a mullet. The long part was almost as long as my own hair, but this part here was just a feathery crown going back with, the cutout over the ears, the whole thing. So I'm staring at this lady. I'm going, because I hadn't seen a mighty, mighty mullet like that since we used to wear it back in the 80s. So I'm staring at the mullet. Oh, Java man, I wish. The woman turns around and glares at me. Okay. And she figured out I was staring at her. So she stares, then she stares again like I'm staring at her. And she says, "I know who you are. You're disgusting, blah, blah, blah." Goes off on me and starts telling me how wonderful this gal is. So just busted out laughing. I almost fell over. I was laughing so hard because it was so surreal and just like, yeah, whatever. Just went on about my day. So that was something that was unexpected, very unexpected seeing her, seeing that lady. Java man, I know about that because I used to live in Manassas, not far from there. And the first year we lived in Virginia, we lived in Manassas. And this happened shortly after we moved out of Manassas. And my father called me when it happened and was it is a thing in Latin America. I do see some exotic ones here. I just don't see them in the States too often. So that kind of threw me. Um, so back to the whole thing with the John Wayne Bobbitt in the hospital and Prince William, I can't believe that's where they reconnected him because, you're 20 miles outside of DC there. You have access to some of the best surgeons in the world at George Washington University Hospital, the road at Johns Hopkins. You have world experts and everything. They reconnected him at Prince William Hospital, which I wouldn't even trust them to figure out if I had a broken bone. So, my father called me that day when that happened and was laughing so hard that he was getting one word out between each laugh. He got the biggest kick out of the John Wayne Bobbitt, Lorena Bobbitt story. Weird history. Okay, so what else? I did say I was gonna talk a little bit about her. Okay, so I'm watching everybody freaking out. The Bobbitt act is called Feeding the Ducks. Oh, I don't know why she didn't feed it to a dog or something, because that's what I would have done. I would have made sure that nobody found anything to reconnect. But that's just how I roll. So, um, here in Florida, in the country, you see it too. Monster Jam never lets me down and sing Tiger King mullets. Jackie, I see them every now and then. I see them here, but not to this glorious extent. This was interesting. That's why I was staring at her so hard and caught her attention. And I didn't mean to stare, but it was just it was exotic redneck sighting that I had not anticipated on seeing. So, also, I've been watching everybody freaking out on her without a box of Kleenex because of her total support for Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I don't know what the answer is to the Gypsy Rose thing. She was definitely abused by her mother. Her mother had Munchausen's by proxy. How many times have people accused without a box of Kleenex of having that? Quite a few. And Gypsy served, I don't think she served enough time, personally. I think that she used the boyfriend as a convenient excuse. He was not the sharpest tool in the shed. So I think she got away with it compared to what should have happened. She should have gone away for a long time to a mental facility before they even talked about charging her. I'm not a big fan of charging people who have been through traumatic experiences that may have colored what they did. They needed to unpick all of that first before they even thought about. And of course, without a box of Kleenex is all up in that jizz because she thinks that she is going to be able to monetize that. And my cat is having her asthma attack again. I got to treat her in a bit. So everybody's freaking out over that. And there's been a lot of accusations and more screeching about sending out cease and desist and all sorts of silly stuff that somebody keeps getting drug into again and again and again. So I'm just sitting back watching this and just laughing because it is pretty ridiculous the things people are saying. I'm just going to throw this out here because I hear so many people saying, "Oh, her and her mother were second cousins," and how wrong that is. And people, okay, you need your acid treatment. Um, so yeah, okay, that's driving me crazy. Feel bad for you, girl. Let's go ahead and give you a treatment with you and get off here. Um, so Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I've been a Gypsy Rose and Italian Grace rabbit hole, but not familiar with the Woj drama too much. I'm seeing some of it now. They say Gypsy didn't get mental health in jail. No surprise there, though. Jackie, I did not. I did not expect her to get mental health in jail. I expected that to take place before any of anything, that they put her in a mental facility, evaluated her before they charged her. But this is the failure of the not law enforcement, the criminal justice system on so many levels, and this was a big failure on that. I will say she's behaving very badly since she's been out. She's saying gross things about her husband's D and various things that are just ridiculous, and apparently he's monetizing it and writing a book. I guess she's in a state where there's nothing like that going on. You don't feed that. Speaking of YouTube content creators not suing, Illuminati is being sued for unpaid taxes. Woo! I love that for her, Java man. Um, the thing that I keep saying pop up again and again and again in the communities is the fact that Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee were second cousins. Everybody's acting like this is some kind of huge surprise. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee were second cousins. Everybody's acting like this is some kind of huge surprise. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Before I get to this, um, in Louisiana, that's not uncommon. In the Cajun population, especially, Dee Dee Blanchard is Kunas. Kunas is me, and they, the Cajun community is so intermarried. It's ridiculous. It just is. I mean, I have relatives that have Tay-Sachs. That's how intermingled we all are. And I wouldn't doubt that my mother is my third cousin, twice removed or something. It's just one of those weird things that happens because it's an old culture that did not assimilate real well at first and was pretty insular. So I am not going to say anything about Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose being cousins because, hey, it happens. And you look at any community that is insular in the US, and that happens. And is it right? No, probably not, but it is what it is, what it is. So I have to talk just a little bit about this before I go, because I'm still doing book reviews. I'm going to do full review on this book. I did not buy this. I wasn't interested even in reading this. Brittany is from Kentwood, Louisiana. My entire family is from Ponchatoula, Louisiana, and we got relatives living in Hammond, New Orleans, all over the place. Kentwood is part of Amite Parish, which so is Ponchatoula. My grandmother taught in that county, that parish. So did Brittany's mother. I started reading this book. I'm not very um we're not that Java man, we are not that classy. I wish we were, because if we were, I wouldn't have to talk about this stupid book. And you see, I'm not very far into it, just this bit. I was reading this last night, and again, I had that look of shock and horror on my face because while I know where she's from and all of that, I was just incredibly horrified by her childhood. Brittany never had a chance. Her childhood was just awful. And she's trying to push it off like this is a normal Louisiana childhood. Hell no. Not normal in Cajun Town, not normal in white rednecks, not normal in any sense of the word. Okay. I was outraged by the behavior of her parents. And I'm not even talking about her father, the alcoholic, at all that she talks about. That's common in many Cajun families too. And it's unfortunate that anybody would have to live through that. But there was the other stuff, the stuff with her mother that just makes me gag and want to beat up her mother. And it once makes me want to pray that Brittany gets kidnapped enough to get her brain rearranged because what she was put through is terrible and traumatic. But oh my word, she's not helping herself. Let's just put it that way. The part that I'm really struggling with was the fact that her mother allowed her to smoke from a very early age. From the time she was like 10, 11, 12, her mother was letting her drink. And I mean, drink, go out for margaritas. She was talking about driving to Biloxi, which is, we used to call it the Redneck Riviera because everybody from Louisiana, they got a little time off, would go down to Biloxi. Now, my family went a little farther than that. They used to like to go to Gulf Shores, Alabama, or over to Pensacola area for Long Beach, that sort of thing. So Brittany's talking about driving to Biloxi with her mother. Let me see if I can grab because the quote to me, I was just like flabbergasted. It was me staring at that mullet yet again, thinking, how on earth is this even possible? And I don't see it, but she was talking about her mother making her an itty bitty little white Russian. It just tasted just like ice cream, and it was perfectly fine to drink. My little hello, open container laws. Even Louisiana has them. Even Louisiana has them. And let me tell you something as a bartender, having attended bar in the past in high school, well, college. Um, a white Russian is Kahlua, vodka, heavy cream. It's a strong drink. It's a sweet, strong drink. Is a Biloxi, Mississippi Eden, according to the Mormons? Java man, I don't know about that. And all I can say is if that is Eden, that is a strange Eden. At least the Biloxi of my childhood was a strange Eden. You want attention, right? You're having a day. I'm gonna take care of you in a second. We're gonna have a day. I'm gonna treat you some asthma meds. So my cats miss me real bad. Um, so we have Brittany being allowed to have sex, to smoke, to drink from a very early age. And I'm just like, no wonder we saw the antics we saw in Brittany's life there for a while, where she was shaving her head and all kinds of crazy stuff. No wonder she fell for the first hot scamming guy that came along. I used to drink those and coffee. Those days are long over. Love my grands. I used to love them too. And I used to love to drink when I was working coffee with Bailey's Irish cream in it. That was my jam. In those days when I was super skinny, it was pencil thin, I could get away with carbs like that, young and stupid. But I moved on from that. So seeing Brittany justifying a lot of the stuff that she did and was allowed to do for very long early age was all kinds of frightening to me. I was just reading through this with my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. It was just horrific. Um, so I probably consider I read that tiny bit late last night. I will probably find myself zipping through the rest of this in a hurry. It's not written to a very, how do I put this, very intellectual level. There's not even any, what was it? Somebody used to call it $10 words in here, nothing like that. And so far, I'm feeling sorry for Brittany, and I'm feeling like doing serious damage to her parents because they certainly did serious damage to her and normalized the worst stuff. They just normalized it like it wasn't a bad thing. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I don't get why anybody would think doing this stuff to a kid was a good idea or letting a kid participate in these things. I wasn't the best mother in the world with either of my three children. But I have to say, I didn't let everybody get drunk when they were 12. At least tried to keep people from doing those things until they were slightly older. So, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Something else today, but I don't remember. Oh, I just wanted to say traveling went well. Oh, and I know I got 10,000 loads of laundry to fold now because we didn't do laundry before we left. This was one of the most disorganized trips I ever made. Usually I'm organized, I'm squared away. I know how much room I have in my luggage, all of that. Not this time. I was kind of like a drunk octopus, just kind of flailing all over, getting stuff done left and right. And so it was kind of a miracle that I managed to get home with everything and everything else. In fact, I totally forgot to tell my daughter about the incident with the mullet head. She saw me staring at the mullet head earlier. She didn't see later when the woman came up. But I just laughed over it because that's just one of those weird and random things that I see all the time. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about with the last thing. I came back to somebody that's a friend that was upset because I said he doxed another friend of mine. When you repeat somebody else's dox, okay, and we all know Without a Box of Kleenex is notorious for this too. I stand against this. I don't care who is doing it. If you're my friend, it doesn't exempt you from me calling you out when you do that kind of crap because that kind of crap is just wrong. It just is. Don't go real life with people on the internet. It is what it is, and it's not a good thing. Particularly if the people have children involved. That's even worse. So the guy was mad that I outed him as doxing and has been giving me not giving me some crap, just a little bit of pushback. So I just want to say, don't dox anybody. If somebody doxes somebody else, don't blast out that same info because by doing so, you yourself are doxing that person. That is where my line in the sand is with people. When you start doxing people and pulling out all this crap, and it's a whole different ball game. Now, I will say I did look at Southern Mutton's video last night about our favorite New Orleanian named Michelle, and just laughed because she had did a greatest hits of Michelle for 2023, and it was just brilliant. It was the laugh I needed yesterday when I was slogging through doing 10,000 loads of laundry that I have to fold, put away, and iron and do all the crap today. So I think I am going to do a Game of Thrones rewatch while I'm doing the thing I hate the most. Well, I won't read the most. It's just boring. Okay. Since I don't have anybody here to sing me a song while I'm folding, like my daughter's her husband does for her. Cutest thing ever. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I don't think we did a whole lot. I don't remember because I was kind of out of it. I had a real bad infection. We were there too. And wasn't quite myself. So it was a real low key celebration. It was just as well. We were putting together a puzzle all night, and that was pretty fun. I'm old. Say, I am old, but I will say this: I will never fly Frontier ever again. I didn't fly them this time. I flew American. Well, I've gotten to the point where I usually try now to fly American or Delta or whatever, because when I try the discount airlines, something always happens and it's never anything good. When I flew Frontier 6 months ago, not only did I fall down the thing, but I fell over my walker. I had all kinds of things going on with Frontier, um, including the fact that two of my pieces of luggage were lost for 2 weeks, which was kind of big because one of them had some very expensive items in it, such as accessories kit for my GoPro and just different things. Okay, I am gonna go, and I hope you guys have had a good start here 2024, that you got to eat plenty of good food over Christmas, got to laugh a lot. And I'll see you guys later when I finish this Britney book. I'm going to. I think that one of the discount airlines sent a child the wrong airport. Could be. And I want to say this about discount airlines too. I've flown Spirit many, many times and never had problems on Spirit, not like I had on Frontier. So even though I'm avoiding Spirit now because they don't fly into my airport here, they actually weren't a bad airline compared to some of the ones that I've flown. I have my distinct favorites. It's like Delta, American, United, and those are the three that I try to book with. Sometimes Air Canada. My daughter loves Southwest. I've only flown them a couple times and I wasn't overtly impressed. So it's just a weird thing, air travel, because I'm so old that back in the 60s, when I traveled with my family, and my husband can testify to this, so can So can Robert August in his film, Endless Summer. He talked about this and showed them. You would go to the airport and fly all dressed up. If you were a man, that meant a suit. If you were a woman, that meant maybe hat, gloves, outfit, you know. And I remember flying like that. Now it's kind of like we all roll off the airplane. I know I did, looking like we rolled out of a flop house. I had a pair of pants, a pair of sweatpants that I'd been wearing for a second day, and not exactly. It wasn't exactly hat, gloves, and outfit. Oh, Jackie, I'm sorry to hear it was a disaster. So hopefully it'll get better. I mean, how can we lived through 2020, so 2024 can't be any worse. At least that's what I'm telling myself. I'm gonna go ahead and go. Let's close. I better get them started folding before Jim gets home and see if I'm goofing off again. Love you guys. Have a great 2024.